So I was molested by a person in my family, a really close person in my family. Not going to mention names, not going to mention like relations, but growing up in the Polynesian culture, we don't talk about sex.
Yeah.
Right. We're just going to put that out there. We don't talk about it. SEX, it's like, it's silent. We don't talk about it. What is that? No. Obviously, it's viewed in a lot of cultures and a lot of religions to save that, of course, for marriage, which is fine. However, when it comes to the aspect of teaching your kids right from wrong, or teaching your kids what is okay and what is not okay, that was never taught to us. And I'm sure that's common in a lot of Polynesian families. So when the time did come, and that did happen to me, the molestation, it did occur for some time, over a period of time. And I didn't know that it wasn't good. I didn't know that it was, I didn't know that it was not good. I didn't know that it was something that was bad.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what was going on, because nobody ever said that, hey, if somebody tried to touch you in the like this, say no and say something, speak up as soon as possible. Go to the next nearest adult and say something. And in the Polynesian culture, we leave our kids with aunties, uncles, we go with their cousins all the time, but I think that this is something that has happened before my family. And I think it's happened a lot in other families, other close-knit families, or families that are really rooted in the culture or religious, honestly, And the thing is that kids are curious. However, it was something that was much past that. It wasn't just curiosity. It was something that was done to this person. So that person did it to the next person. Right. And everybody deals with sexual harassment or sexual abuse differently. Research has shown that some people act out by with drugs, alcohol. Other people act out with addictions, which all that can lead to addictions. Other people deal with it by lashing out or just being really confused at a young age, right? Being touched sexually, you're like, oh, is this, like, obviously this kind of felt good, but it kind of didn't feel right. And you grow up and you go on with your life and you're kind of like, is this okay? Like, is this what I'm supposed to do? And already being in a Polynesian family where you're taught to be quiet and stay in the corner, don't question anything, don't question nobody, or else you're being disrespectful, right? That's the mindset that we have in our families, unfortunately. So you can only imagine, as a little girl, not knowing, not understanding what was happening, not knowing or understanding anything about sex or sexual relations, or if this is a good or bad thing that just happened to me. So it went on for a period of time. Obviously nothing was said, right? Because I'm like, okay, go on, live my life as a little girl, preteen, teenager. And I didn't go towards alcohol or drugs, although I was curious about it. But my parents were very strict. So my way of lashing out, right, in studies and researchers and therapists and professionals, they all say that there's different ways that people can go. My way of lashing out was thinking that this is what guys wanted from me. And this was the only thing that I was supposed to give them, because this was something that was introduced to me at such a young age, and being confused, naive, going through. So that happening, and then moving on. And when my mom got divorced again from this father figure that was so near and dear to my heart, him leaving, that was never talked about either. And I'm sure my mom You know, she went through her things. She was trying to get her life back together. She was heartbroken. And that's another story. And that's for her to share. But as the kids, we weren't really told really what was going on. It was kind of like we were living it and this was happening around us, but it wasn't addressed. The only thing really that was addressed when it came to sex or when it came to a divorce was, okay, I'm going to sign you up for sex at 6th grade. Now you know about sex. It's not enough. Let's be real. It's not enough for kids. Like, we're kids. Like, we need it. Number one, it needs to be repetition.
Yeah.
Because kids don't just learn. Nobody can really learn things one time, you know. Number two, with the divorce, not talked about again. So what am I going to do? I'm going to sign you up for like a support class, one time, done. But what about everything else? Like, you know, what about the lives that we're living? What about everything that's happening around us? Us as human beings, we can't just deal with an experience as traumatic as those things were and expect it to be healed or fixed one time after, like, okay, this is like the one resolution. One time we talk about it, done. It really doesn't work like that at all. That's not how people process trauma. That's not how people heal during their journeys. And I didn't learn that until, honestly, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The person that I am like today, right now, I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with communication. You know, I struggle with, I might be overly sensitive or over emotional, but that's who I am as a person. And I think that God created me this way for a reason, because I'm here sharing my story with other people for a reason, because I know that there's other people out there that are struggling through the same things. There's a lot of people, a lot of Polynesian and Pacific Islander families that have secrets. You know, we protect the predators, but we don't listen to the victims.
Yeah.
Right? We don't talk about things. There's no healing. So how do people lash out? They lash out by alcohol and drugs and addiction and porn and sex and doing things that they don't understand, that they don't know what's going on with their body. Instead of seeking professional help from people who have studied these things in school, this is their life purpose. Instead of going to those people and seeking help about it, we're causing generational trauma, and it's just being passed down from generation to generation. And that's just the surface of it. Okay. That's just the surface of it. There's other traumatic experiences that I have in my childhood. So a lot of childhood trauma is what I deal with and what I talk to with my therapist. So fast forward a little bit. Alan came back into our lives. I've never had a close relationship with my dad. Like, I love my dad and I know he's my dad, but when it comes to feeling safe or feeling comfortable to express myself and be myself, I never felt that with my family. Well, with a lot of people in my family, a lot of it has to do with the older generation. It really does, because they were taught a certain way and that's all they know. So instead of seeking help for it, and, you know, living the island life, I can guarantee there's not a lot of people that go see therapists. There's not a lot of people that do that in Pacific Island, like across the board.
Yeah. Really, nobody does it. Yeah.
Therapy is for the white man. That's what we believe, right?
Yeah.
Therapy is for white people.
Also,
that's not necessarily true.
Also, they think that therapy is for sick people, like sick.
For
like
sick people, yeah.
No, like they don't understand, like there's mental issues. You know,
for people that there's something wrong with them, and people don't want to admit that there's something wrong.
Exactly.
People don't want to admit that there's secrets in the family. People don't want to admit that there's something that needs to be changed, or not even. And sometimes, you know what, change is okay. If you don't want to use that word, fine. then we'll use the word improvement or we'll use the word better, right? People don't want or believe that there's something that needs to be improved. There's not something that they believe that needs to be fixed or that needs to be better. But there's improvement, room for improvement in all of us. But really, when it comes to the trauma that we're passing down to our kids, and then our kids live with this trauma and have to deal with it, and then you see those kids passing it down to their kids, and their kids passing it down to their kids, the cycle never ends. It's like, where does it stop? Where do things get better for the next generation to come, right? We value our elders. We value our kupuna, right? The people that give us our advice. We look up to our elders and our ancestors, and we hold them, like how you said, on the highest pedestal. And that's fine and that's great. But I'm not afraid to say that the kupuna doesn't have all the answers for us. Times change. Let's just be real. Times change. And people change too. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've gone through it myself. I'm still going through it. So, yeah, never really had a close relationship with my dad. Love him dearly. But the reason I say that, and a lot of people are not going to like what I say, and that's fine. You know, I've come to accept that that's fine, because people have to learn for themselves. And I think that people in my family have seen a change in me, and they see that I am different, and they see that I'm more open about the things that I struggle with. But only the people that I talk to like this, or like my husband, my really close friends, the close people that I know in my family, only they really truly know my story and what it is that I've gone through, and that what I'm currently working through. So growing up, you know, I just never really I never felt like I had a safe place.
Yeah.
To express myself or to be myself. I did feel like that with my mom. Like, you know, my mom is a very nurturing, caring person. A lot of people in her family are like that as well. And maybe, you know what, right? That's the dynamic of her family. That's how they were raised. On my dad's side of the family, very strict Hawaiian values, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I get it. On both sides of the family, a lot of religion, a lot of Christianity, you know, which is fine also. But religion isn't perfect either. You know, there's a lot of secrets, dark and evil, when it comes to churches. Or when it comes to the leaders of the churches. I've seen things, I've heard things, and you know, we can compare it same to our families, you know, same thing. We value our families. We family over everything, right? That's the Polynesian like motto, family over everything. And I do believe that that's true to a certain extent. But if we're raising our kids in a toxic family and teaching these kids that it's not safe to be yourself and it's not safe to express yourself, those kids are going to grow up with trauma. It is what it is, you know, and they're going to have to figure out, they're either going to continue on that path that we've put them on, or that the older generation has put them on, or they're going to change their ways. And people are not going to like it. People are not everybody's going to like the change that they see, because everybody has their own opinion on what's right and what's wrong. So there's some other like traumatic experiences when I was on the Big Island. I was living on the Big Island. My you know, my mom, she worked on Oahu and we lived on the Big Island. Very, very confusing childhood. Most of my childhood, I would say, is very confusing. I never felt like I had stability. I never felt like I had that safe space. Maybe I had it for just a little bit when things were sunshine and rainbows, you know, before things really turn to shit.